Welcome to Revenge Report. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more. Let's dive in. The first thing I noticed was the music. Some slow, twangy guitar playing in the background, mixed with faint laughter. Definitely not the vibe of a house where someone's taking care of a bedridden wife. "Hey, sweetheart," my dad said, voice a little too chipper for someone supposedly run ragged caring for mom. "Just checking in. How you doing?" I held the phone tighter. "I'm good. How's mom? How's she feeling today?" "She's sleeping. Long night, you know how it is. These new meds got her kinda zonked." In the background, a woman's voice laughed. Then, clear as day, called out, "Hey, honey, you want another beer?" I froze. "Who was that?" He cleared his throat. Just a mechanic from the shop. Candy. She's been helping with the truck since my back's been acting up." Candy. Jesus. Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. Didn't know mechanics made house calls now? Yeah, well, you know. Small town perks, he said, real casual. But something was off. The longer he talked, the more I could tell he was trying too hard to sound normal, like he was reading from a script. "Anyway," he added, "I was thinking, remember that old joint savings account you and me set up for college stuff? It's still got a few grand in it. I was gonna go ahead and close it out. Maybe use it to patch up the porch." I blinked. "You mean the account I used for grad school? That's got like $300 in it." He laughed, but it came out dry. No, this is the other one." "You must have forgotten. I got the paperwork right here. I didn't forget anything." "We only had one. I opened it myself when I was 17. "Can you text me a photo of the paperwork?" I asked. There was a pause. "Well, the printer's on the fritz. I'll just go down to the credit union and handle it. Figured I'd let you know, since your name's still on it." The hairs on my neck stood up. A second voice, the same woman, that lower this time. "Tell her you'll call back, babe." I didn't respond. My mouth was dry. "Look, kiddo," Dad said, shifting again. "I'll check in tomorrow." "Just wanted to run that by you." I kept my voice even. "Sure, Dad." Talk later. I hung up. My hands were cold. I sat there staring at the wall, heart thudding in my ears. That wasn't a caregiver in the background. That was a woman who called him babe. That wasn't about savings. That call was about covering tracks. I stood up, grabbed my keys, and threw my overnight bag on the couch. I was going home. I got to the house just after 1 the next afternoon. The drive from Pittsburgh was only a few hours, but it felt longer with that phone call still crawling around in my head. From the outside, the place looked the same. White siding, cracked front steps, Dad's ancient truck sagging in the gravel driveway. A little faded, maybe, but not the wreck I expected. Inside was a different story. The second I opened the door, I got hit with this thick, musty air, like the place hadn't been properly aired out in weeks. The old living room rug was dingy and curling at the edges. Something smelled off. Not dirty exactly, but sour. "Damp towels? Old food?" I called out. "Mom?" No answer. I followed the faint hum of a TV down the hall toward the den. That's when I saw her. She was lying in a medical bed against the far wall, all bones and hospital blankets, her hair matted flat against her head. Her mouth was open a little, like she'd fallen asleep mid-sentence. A food tray sat next to her with untouched mashed potatoes and half-melted Jell-O. "Mom," I said, walking over quick. Her eyes opened, slow, like it took effort, and focused on me in pieces. "Oh, Angie, look at you," she whispered. I bent down and kissed her forehead. Her skin was cool, not cold, just weak. The kind of weak that gets under your skin. "Where's Dad?" I asked, keeping my tone calm. She blinked. "Out in the garage. Working on that car of his. Candy's with him. She helps him cope." You know I pulled back. "Candy?" She nodded, like it was the most normal thing in the world. "He says she helps him feel less alone. All of this is hard for him, Angie. He's grieving me in advance." My jaw tightened. "And who's been taking care of you?" She gave this vague wave toward the kitchen. "That girl from down the street comes in a few hours most days." Nice enough. Doesn't talk much. I looked around. There were no medical supplies on hand except a few pill bottles stacked on a plastic tray. No gloves, no proper hygiene stuff. The place felt thrown together. "Do you want to sit up a bit? You should eat something." "I'm not very hungry." "Let's try anyway." I raised the bed slowly, adjusting the pillows behind her. She winced but didn't complain. I grabbed the tray and sat beside her, scooping a little of the potatoes. She tried, swallowed hard, then choked a little and shook her head. Too thick, she said. No water. I grabbed a cup and helped her sip. She settled back, chest rising and falling like she'd just run a mile. That was when I noticed her hair, yellowed at the roots, uneven, dry. I found a brush on the TV stand and started working through it gently. You don't have to do that, she murmured. I want to. A minute passed. She closed her eyes. He doesn't mean to be cruel, she said quietly. He just doesn't know what to do with me like this. I kept brushing. You're not some burden, Mom. You're a person. You deserve better than this. She didn't answer, just stared at the ceiling like she was too tired to argue. I helped her drink some more water and got her to finish a few bites of pudding. Then I washed the tray, rinsed out her cup, and started checking through the meds. Dates, doses, anything expired. Half of it was in unmarked pill organizers. I'm staying a few days, I told her. You need someone who's really here. She didn't smile, just closed her eyes and whispered, Thank you. I tucked the blanket around her and kissed her cheek again. Then I stood up, scanned the room one more time, and walked toward the garage. Time to see exactly what coping looked like. The garage was empty, his truck was gone, Candy too. I stood in the stale silence for a few seconds, staring at the mess on his workbench. Half-disassembled carburetor, greasy rags, beer cans lined up like trophies. That Mustang wasn't some old fixer-upper. He'd been rebuilding something shiny, something for show. Back inside, I went straight to his office. Same spot it had always been. Little room off the laundry hallway, door barely shut right. I pushed it open. Clean. Too clean. Not the kind of clean you get from tidying up. The kind you get when someone's been hiding something. No mail stacked up, no receipts, no bills, no clutter. Desk was polished. Drawers were almost empty. Just a few pens and a stapler. But then I found his old leather planner shoved behind some folders on the shelf. Not digital. He always used pen and paper. I flipped it open. C. Dinner, Brighton Grill. Overnight, collector meet. C. Park Trail, Pat Gear. Dates going back months. C didn't stand for car parts, and these weren't one-offs. These were regular. Whole weekends blocked off. My pulse kicked up. I flipped to the back pocket. Registration slip. Classic 1967 Mustang. Title listed. Candace Ruel. I whispered it out loud. Son of a bitch. I walked through the house with a new lens, noticing what wasn't there. No more framed wedding photo in the hallway. Just the little nail where it used to hang. The floral painting Mom always loved. Gone. Her ring box on the dresser. Empty. Even the Le Creuset pans she swore by had been swapped with scratched-up discount store junk. In the bedroom, Mom was napping again. Her skin looked better with rest, but she still seemed far away, like her body was here, but the rest of her was just trying to float past it. I sat on the edge of the bed and said, Mom, where's your jewelry? She didn't open her eyes. Tom sold some things. Said we needed to pay for my medicine and your paintings? Same. It's all expensive, he said. We don't need pretty things anymore. I forced my voice to stay calm. But most of your meds are covered by insurance, right? She blinked slowly. I don't know. I just take what he gives me. I stood up. I didn't trust myself to say anything else without yelling. In the living room, I opened the old secretary desk where she used to keep the household stuff. Coupons, birthday cards, stamps. It was cluttered, but I found her checkbook in the back. I flipped through the register. 2 checks to Tom, $5,000, then $8,000. Cash withdrawals almost every week. 400 here, 600 there. I grabbed a notepad and started writing them down by date and amount. This wasn't helping with prescriptions. This was bleeding her dry. The man was robbing his own wife while she lay 20 feet away. I went back to the kitchen and pulled open every drawer. He'd even taken her good silverware. I found it replaced with mismatched plastic-handled junk. Who does that? Who looks at a woman they've been married to for 40 years, sees her falling apart and thinks, you know what? I'll sell her wedding ring too? I opened the fridge. Half a loaf of bread, old deli meat, expired yogurt. That was it. I checked the pantry. 3 cans of soup, 2 boxes of crackers. This wasn't just laziness. This was calculated neglect. I stood there gripping the checkbook and that damn planner like they were evidence in a crime. Because they were. Then I heard the truck pulling up outside. I shoved the planner under my arm, stuffed the checkbook into my hoodie pocket, and stepped into the hallway just as the front door opened. "Hey, pumpkin," Dad said, all fake charm, candy trailing behind him in ripped jeans and a smirk like she already owned the place. I didn't say a word, just walked past him, headed straight for the laundry room, and slammed the door behind me. I had what I needed, but now I needed proof that it'd stick. That night, I waited until the house was dead quiet. Mom had finally fallen into a deeper sleep. Candy was gone, thank God. Dad was out cold in the recliner with the TV still playing some war doc, mouth open, beer on the table beside him. I moved slow, barefoot. No creaks, no lights. His old laptop was still in the laundry room, tucked behind detergent and loose screws like it hadn't been touched in weeks. I grabbed it, shut myself in the guest room, and sat cross-legged on the floor with the glow of the screen lighting my face. No password. That man was slick with lies, but lazy with tech. I opened his email first. The inbox was cluttered, but it didn't take long. Subject line, "Counting the days," from Candace Ruel. "We just need Helen to hang in there a little longer, babe. Once the new place is finished, we're free. All ours. No guilt, no more caretaking. Just us." I sat back, stomach twisting. Another one, RV colors. "I love the mocha interior you picked. I can picture us pulling into that lakeside lot, music playing, sun going down. You and me and freedom. There were dozens like it. Road trip maps. Getting rid of clutter. New chapter." They weren't even subtle. It was all laid out like a fantasy novel. Helen dead, the house sold, the RV their magic escape pod. I clicked into his downloads folder and opened a spreadsheet titled Payments, Liberty Custom Homes. The first line said, down payment, $35,000. Next custom features, $12,000. Upgrades, tile floors, surround sound, double bed lift. Paid in full. Attached was the wiring confirmation from the bank. The sender name was Helen G. Waters. Only Helen hadn't sent anything. I opened the documents folder, a PDF titled Equity Refi, Waters, Property. And there it was, a scanned mortgage agreement. Second loan, her signature at the bottom, shaky, inconsistent, not even close to her real one. I'd seen her sign things 100 times. Next to it, power of attorney, dated 6 months ago, not notarized, just signed and scanned. He'd forged it. No question. I checked the title paperwork for the RV. The owner was listed as Thomas Waters, Wen, and Candace Ruel. Helen's name wasn't mentioned once, even though half that property legally belonged to her. They were building a whole life on her back, like termites hollowing out the beams while the house still stood. I stood up, blood pounding in my ears, grabbed the printer from the corner shelf and plugged it in. I printed every damn file. The emails, the transfers, the property forms, labeled each one in Sharpie. Emails, manipulation, mortgage fraud, ownership transfer, wire confirmations, RV. Then I opened my laptop and backed it all up. Cloud folder, flash drive, printed copies stacked neatly in a shoebox from the closet. If this thing blew up, I wanted it tight. Tight enough for court. Tight enough for cops. I didn't cry. Not because I wasn't angry. I was past angry. I was surgical. He thought he could talk his way through this like everything else. Like charm and a few dad jokes would patch over paperwork theft, insurance scams, and God knows what else. He had no idea who he was dealing with. I shut the laptop, locked the files in my trunk, and turned off the light. This wasn't about catching him in a lie anymore. This was war. The next morning, I made my first call from the car, parked 2 blocks from the house so no one could overhear. "Raymond Geller," he answered, voice groggy. "Who's this?" "It's Angela Waters." "You still do side work?" He sat up in his voice real fast. "Angie? Damn, been years. Yeah, I still poke around. What's up?" "I've got a woman named Candace Ruel. I need a deep dive. Past relationships, life insurance, probate, any weird spikes in her finances after a man dies." There was a pause. "You think she's a black widow?" "I think she's helping my dad kill my mother slowly." Ray didn't even breathe for a second. "I'll run her. Gimme a day." 2 max text only. Don't call. I hung up, pulled the car around, and walked inside like nothing happened. Dad was already out back, messing with the grill. Mom was in the den, sitting up a little higher, awake but dull. I sat down on the couch, opened my phone, and called Dr. Gianti, Mom's neurologist. Angela, I didn't expect. Doctor, I need you to come by the house. Unannounced. Today, if you can. Okay. Is something wrong with Helen's behavior? She's being neglected. And I don't think the person managing her care is acting in her best interest. She didn't push. She just said, I'll make room. Expect me by 4, I thanked her and hung up. Then I went upstairs to my old bedroom and pulled out the small recorder I used to use for interviews during my internship. Still worked. Good battery. Good mic. I tucked it behind the basket of magazines on the living room side table and hit record. Then I waited. I stayed out of sight. Upstairs, door cracked, light off. It didn't take long. Around 2, I heard him come in. Boots heavy, keys tossed on the counter. The fridge opened, beer hissed. Then he walked into the den. You sleep all day again? He snapped. Mom's voice was soft, too soft to catch clearly. No, you don't need more water. You need to stop acting like everything's a damn emergency. Pause. I'm bending over backwards here, Helen. Candy's the only reason I'm even holding it together. You want to act like a little drama queen every time I walk in? Go ahead. My hands balled into fists on instinct. You're making this harder than it needs to be, he muttered. Don't give me that look. Another pause. You know what? Go ahead. Tell Angie. You think she's staying forever? She'll run back to her little apartment in Pittsburgh the second she gets bored playing nurse. I had enough. I came down the stairs slow, deliberate. He was on the recliner, feet up, phone in hand. He glanced at me, but didn't say anything. How's Mom? I asked flat. Fine, he muttered. Same as always. Dr. Jayanti's stopping by today? That got his attention. He shifted in the chair. What for? Routine checkup. I called her. He narrowed his eyes. She don't need a damn surprise visit. We already got a care plan. I want a second opinion. She's still my mother, too. He looked like he wanted to argue, but didn't. He just grabbed his beer and walked out onto the porch, slamming the screen door behind him. At 4:15, sharp doctor, Jayanti arrived. I let her in and stayed out of the way while she did her exam. She was calm, professional. But I saw it in her face, the minute she took Mom's vitals, when she saw the bruises on her arms, when she smelled the air. She left 30 minutes later, and before getting in her car, she turned to me and said, I'll be writing a report. Your instincts were correct, I nodded. She didn't need more than that. Inside, I walked past the living room, tapped the recorder off, and slipped it into my back pocket. I had the paperwork. I had the voices. Now I needed everyone else to hear them too. By noon the next day, Ray texted me, You're gonna want to sit down for this? I was already sitting. I had the laptop open before the message even finished loading. He'd sent 6 PDFs, each one uglier than the last. Candace Ruel, 3 ex-husbands, 2 dead, 1 missing. First husband, boating accident. Second, fell down the stairs, broke his neck. Third, stroke, alone in a cabin for 3 days before anyone found him. Each time, she was the sole beneficiary. Each time, policies had been changed months before the incident. Then I saw the numbers. Over 600,000 total across payouts. And not a single charge filed. Not even an investigation, far as the report showed. Ray had pulled probate files, life insurance policy copies, and flagged emails between Candace and one of the dead men's sisters. Emails that sounded exactly like the ones she'd sent my dad. New chapter. Ready for freedom? We just need to hang in there. It was a pattern, a damn blueprint. I heard the aide come in around 1. Girl couldn't have been older than 22. Long, fake nails, tank top, flip-flops. I waited until she settled in the kitchen, then walked straight up to her with my phone still in hand. Hey, you're Sarah, right? Yeah, she said, half looking up. You work for a home care agency? She blinked. No. I just come over and help when Mr. Waters calls. Are you licensed? She laughed. Nah, I'm not a nurse or anything. I'm Kimmy's niece. Across the street? And he pays you cash? She nodded. Like $20 a visit. Just till he finds someone better. I didn't say another word. I walked straight to the den where Mom was laying half asleep, skin dry, lips cracked. She hadn't had a proper bath in who knows how long. I texted Dr. Jayanti. I need an official report ASAP. I'm filing today. She replied in under 2 minutes. Already drafting it. Will email within the hour. At the kitchen table, I pulled out the flash drive, the checkbook records, the forged mortgage paperwork, and my laptop. Downloaded a guardianship petition template. Started filling it out line by line. My hands were steady. My heart wasn't. By the time Dad came stomping through the door around 4, I was halfway through the call with a local elder care attorney. He looked over at me like I was just being dramatic again. "What's all this now?" I held up the flash drive. "Your mistakes," he scoffed. "Jesus, Angela. You're not actually going to drag this family into court over a bunch of paperwork." "No," I said. "I'm dragging you into court for elder abuse, fraud, and attempted theft." He laughed like it was all a bad joke. "Come on, you don't even live here. You've got no idea what I've been dealing with. You think it's easy watching her slip away day by day? You want to come in and act like you know everything?" I stood. "She's not slipping away. You're starving her out." He shut up then. 5 hours later, I wheeled Mom into Brookside Transitional Care, a private facility 20 minutes away with a full staff and clean sheets. I'd toured it earlier in the day while waiting on the court clerk to process the emergency guardianship. They admitted her without hesitation. 4 fluids within the first half hour, meals scheduled, her own nurse. She looked around the room slowly, then at me. "You did this?" she asked. "Yeah," I said, brushing her hair behind her ear, "and I'm not going anywhere." For the first time in weeks, her eyes looked clearer. Less fog, more fight. Back at the house, Dad was already on his 3rd beer when I returned. He looked at me like I was just throwing a tantrum. "You'll regret this," he said, not even looking up from the TV. "No," I said, setting the front door keys on the table. "You will." Then I walked out, and this time, I didn't look back. 2 days later, he stood in the driveway like he'd just won the lottery. "I'm throwing a retirement barbecue," he said, hands on his hips. "Close friends, shop folks, maybe a few from the collector club. Just something low-key, I kept my voice even." "When?" "Saturday. Weather's looking good. We'll fire up the grill, crack open some beers, maybe show off the new ride a little." There it is. This wasn't a goodbye to the working man life. It was a coming out party for him and Candace. A victory lap before the wreckage came crashing down. "Sounds great," I said. "Let me help." He blinked like he hadn't expected that. I smiled. "If we're doing this, might as well do it right." I spent the next 3 days making lists. Food, chairs, drink coolers, speaker placement. I rearranged the living room so Helen's old hospital bed would fit near the window, facing the backyard where the RV was parked like a throne on wheels. "You want her out in the middle of everything?" he asked. "She's your wife, isn't she?" I said, not missing a beat. "She should be part of your celebration." I could see the flicker in his eyes, doubt, worry, but he nodded. Yeah, I guess that's fine." While I stocked the fridge with hot dogs and bags of ice, I made backup copies of every file I had. 2 flash drives, one for me, one in a safety deposit box. I printed a fresh set of the documents, labeled them clearly: power of attorney, forged, mortgage fraud, insurance and ownership conflict, wire transfers, Liberty RV, email threads, intent to abandon, all stacked in a black plastic binder that looked more like a business portfolio than a bomb. I transferred the audio from the recorder, Dad's voice calling Mom, dramatic, mocking her, brushing off her care, right onto the drive. I tested it 3 times. Sound was clear, time-stamped, undeniable. Then I made one last call, to a private nurse I'd found through Brookside. Her name was Karen DeWitt. Mid-50s, sharp-eyed, didn't take bullshit from anyone. Fully licensed, 10 years of hospice care under her belt. She showed up the morning of the BBQ in scrubs and sneakers. I introduced her as Helen's nurse for the weekend, and Karen shook Tom's hand with a firm grip and a blank stare. "You here through an agency?" he asked. "Direct referral," she said. "Paperwork's in the car if you need it." He didn't ask again. I watched him from the kitchen window later that afternoon, pacing by the RV, polishing the bumper, checking his phone every few minutes, probably waiting on Candace to show up in full snake mode, dripping in the jewelry he stole off Mom's dresser. But I wasn't mad anymore. I was surgical. I wasn't there to scream or make a scene. I was there to detonate. Everything was ready. The nurse, the binder, the flash drive. Now I just had to wait for the guests to arrive. By 5 o'clock, the backyard was full. Lawn chairs lined up in crooked rows. Folding tables piled with potato salad, baked beans, and store-bought cookies. Old guys from Dad's mechanic shop cracked beers and slapped each other on the back. A couple neighbors I recognized from childhood stood around the grill talking about gas prices. And there he was, center stage next to the RV. Tom Waters, retired and grinning, holding court like some damn hero. And Candace, finally showing up in tight jeans, too much perfume, and Helen's pearl necklace resting on her over-tanned collarbone like it belonged to her. She laughed too loud at every joke, called my dad Babe, like she was auditioning for a sitcom. And he soaked it up, hand on her waist, showing her off like she was part of the RV package. I kept moving, smiling, handing out lemonade like a good little daughter. People thanked me, said it was so nice to see family sticking together. I just nodded, waited. By 6:30, everyone had plates and drinks, burgers half eaten, coleslaw smeared across paper plates. Music played low from the speaker near the porch. I stepped up in front of them, holding the black binder tight to my side. "Hey folks," I said, loud enough to cut through the buzz. "Mind if I say a few words?" Tom looked up from the grill. "Angela, I'll be quick." I stood in the middle of the yard, binder in hand. "I want to thank everyone for coming. This is a special day. Retirement's no small thing. And building a new life with someone, that's huge, right?" Candace smiled wide, like I was finally on her team. I opened the binder. "So it seems fitting that we talk about what that new life's really built on." The chatter died down. This RV, for example, it wasn't bought with retirement savings. It was bought with a second mortgage, forged under my mother's name. Without her consent, Tom stood up straight. "Now hang on." I didn't stop. "Here's the paperwork," I said, flipping to the first page and holding it up. "Mortgage application. Signature forged. Power of attorney also forged. The bank has copies. So does our lawyer." A few people exchanged looks. One of Dad's buddies squinted, clearly trying to figure out what was going on. "Most of you know my mom's been sick. What you don't know is she's been starved, left alone, and denied basic care while Tom here played house with his girlfriend." "Watch it," Candace snapped. "You don't know what you're talking about." "Actually, I do," I said, flipping another page. "Here's the registration for the RV, owned jointly by Tom and Candace Ruel, not Helen Waters, the legal co-owner of the property used to finance it." I turned to Candace. "And you? You've done this before. Multiple dead husbands, all leaving you nice payouts. No investigations, but plenty of smoke." She stepped back. "You little bitch." "I'm not done." I pulled the flash drive from my pocket, plugged it into the speaker system I'd connected earlier, and hit play. Tom's voice came out crystal clear. "She just needs to hang in there until the new place is finished." Candace's voice followed, laughing. "She doesn't even know what day it is. What's she gonna do? Call the cops from a hospital bed?" Silence. Even the guy scraping the last of the burger grease off his plate froze. Tom's face went pale. Candace turned like she was about to bolt, but before she could take 2 steps, I pointed to the side yard. 2 sheriff's deputies were standing at the gate, hands on their belts. One of them nodded at me. "Candace Ruel," I said, voice steady. "You're being investigated in connection with suspected elder exploitation, financial fraud, and insurance-related abuse across state lines." "Tom Waters," I added, "you're being investigated for felony fraud, theft by deception, and willful neglect of a dependent adult." Tom barked a laugh, but his voice cracked. "Oh, come on, you're blowing this out of—" "I have legal guardianship," I said, cutting him off. "Power of attorney. Full authority over Mom's care and finances." I turned toward the house. Karen had wheeled Mom out onto the back porch. She was sitting upright, dressed neatly, alert. She was watching everything. "Hi, Mama," I said, locking eyes with her. "You okay?" She gave the smallest nod. Her eyes filled, but she didn't cry. Tom turned toward her like he could still spin this. "Helen, she's lying. You know me." "Don't," I snapped. "You don't get to talk to her anymore." Candace finally tried to slip away toward the driveway, but the deputy stepped into her path. "Ma'am, I'm gonna need you to stay right here." And just like that, the party was over, the grill still smoking, the lemonade untouched, and the truth out in the open, right where it belonged. Tom didn't say a word when they cuffed him. The deputies walked him out slow, past the folding chairs and overturned solo cups, past Candace still trying to pretend this wasn't real. The guests didn't move. Nobody spoke. One of his old coworkers looked like he wanted to puke. Candace kept asking, "Is this a mistake? Are you sure this is necessary?" Like she was rehearsing for some kind of Dateline interview. It wasn't. By the time they pulled away with him in the back of the cruiser, everyone knew exactly what kind of man they'd been eating burgers with. The next morning, I got a call from Ray. "She's in it deep," he said. "Feds are poking around now. Nevada and Ohio both reopened files. She's on their radar good." That afternoon, I walked into Brookside with fresh flowers and a bag of my mom's favorite snacks: almonds, peppermint patties, cinnamon gum, the good kind. She was sitting in the rec room with her nurse, sunlight coming in through the window, her legs wrapped in a soft blanket, hair brushed, skin not as pale, and the most important part, her eyes were clear. I pulled up a chair and sat next to her. She turned to me, and there was something there I hadn't seen in weeks, maybe months. "Feels different," she said softly. "I feel like myself again." "You look it," I told her. "You really do." She smiled, slow and real. We sat in silence for a while, just listening to the quiet hum of the room. Other residents played cards in the corner. A staff member laughed softly at someone's joke. It felt like a place where healing could actually happen. I looked down at my hands, then back at her. "I never thought I'd have to use everything I learned at work on my own family," I said. "Never imagined I'd build a case file with my dad's name on it." She looked at me, steady. "But you did." "I did," I said, "and I'd do it again." There wasn't any big speech or apology waiting. We didn't need one. We'd both been through the fire. We'd both come out changed. But she was safe now, and I wasn't afraid anymore.